Dowd, and this is the show where I shine the light on people that are doing it right, that are leading with heart. So without further ado, let me get into the intro. What do you get when you combine a 20-year corporate career that most people could call a full life's work, 8 years of hands-on financial planning for real people with real money problems, a discovery that changed everything, 7 energetic levels of money consciousness, a powerfully practical method for 2xing or 3xing your wealth, meaning and joy, and a woman with an unapologetic stand for FEMpreneur prosperity without the hustle? You get my friend, Susan Glusica. Susan is the unrivaled realizer, and she has built her entire practice around one truth. You don't need to work harder, criticize yourself more, or outthink the problem to invite more money in. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Lindsay, for having me.
It's my
honored
pleasure
to be here.
I was looking forward to this. So we start every show the same. We always want to fill in the blanks on the things that I didn't say. So can you share a little bit of your story? And we're going to go much deeper into the full story, but just the high notes. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Well, so going back to the corporate career, after 20 successful years, I cut my teeth on Wall Street. Then I went over to the data side. Then I pinged back to the insurance side. So I know the whole entire industry inside out. But I had a crisis of legacy. I could not see my impact, my footprint. And my soul basically cried out to me and said, don't go back to that corporate cubicle anymore. I was leading a team. It was great, but I just couldn't see my next step. And also what my impact was. So I spoke to some people, including my own financial advisor at the time, Joe, and he said, come do what I do. So he saw something in me that I didn't know was there, and I did, and trusted him and took the leap. And there I was 8 years in of talking about like exponential wealth, like 3 times 3 times 3. But I was speaking to people who were stuck in 3 plus 3 plus 3. And I said, there has to be, a better way. And I was reading a book called Power versus Force by Sir David Hawkins. It's a bit texty. And this was actually my second time through. And it kind of hit me in the head. And I said, this is exactly how money energy works. For those who don't know Hawkins' work, he created the map of human consciousness. What state of consciousness are you in? And where is it on the log of 0 to 1,000, let's say, of frequency?
Not a light read.
Not a light read, no. It did inform my, discovery of the 7 energetic money levels, and I call them the money realities.
Oh, well, we're going to get into that. Don't go too deep there.
I won't go too deep in there.
That, but keep going.
So with that discovery, I built a wealth mentorship, practice around that so that I could serve my clients at an even higher level, and discovered my legacy, right? I see my legacy each and every day. And I often joke, if I wasn't married, I would do it 24/7.
I mean, what you're describing with not being able to see your legacy, you are not the only one. And, I spent 25 years in corporate America, and you tie your meaning and your purpose to your title or to your brand or to your company. And there's such a missing piece of building your personal brand. And, in corporate, you're really not taught to think that way. You're taught to, row the boat together and be together. So after 20 years in corporate and 8 years in financial planning, what were you missing? What was the really thing that kept nagging at you?
So what I was missing was really like having the impact, adding the level of value that I knew that it was possible for me to add. Mm-hmm. It wasn't being fulfilled in those other 2 dynamics. And just as an aside, I'm not considered a financial planner because I am not actually investment licensed. I do advanced insurance planning, and so I'm a financial representative, right? And I help people with getting their, what I call your self-equity ecosystem in place. So we do a little bit of the non-traditional other planning that banks, corporations, the affluent, right, business owners leverage.
Yeah. And hi, everybody in the audience. Please, we're inviting you to comment, ask questions. You are the third person in the room, or people in the room. So please bring them on. And hi, everybody that's out there. So what happened to you, Susan, in 2018 that cracked everything open?
Well, I had been working with a business strategist for a couple of years at that point, and she kept saying, I see that when you are creating a plan for someone, you're doing more than the plan. And I said, absolutely, I'm all in, right? And I told her everything that I was doing. And she said, yeah, we got to get you paid for that. And I said, well, I don't know how that works because we're in, high compliance territory. And, there's a lot of rules and regs here. So she said, don't worry, we'll just keep asking. And I said, okay. So following her lead, that's how I then created, she actually said, I have a book for you to read. That was the Hawkins book. And as I was reading it, I'm like, oh, I read it. This is like, I read this before, but I was a different person. Right. So then I got different things out of it. And really it stepped me into the next level that was there for me. It was always there. I just had no awareness of it. And so that's actually the benefit of leveraging a coach or a strategist, right, who has gone before or even has higher innovation maybe than you do at the time. And so you can leverage things that you don't yet have and step on their shoulders and go farther faster, right? So that's what happened to me in 2018. And I've always been well coached. Since I turned entrepreneur in 2010, I've always been well coached and I implement immediately. So yeah, it's just a pleasure to see. And every 8 years, apparently women have like the next cycle of their next level. So mine's coming up this summer and I'm really excited to see what does that look like.
I love that. So how did you discover the 7 energetic levels of money consciousness? I mean, you're reading this book, it's heavy stuff. Was it like a lightning bolt? Did it like come in a dream? Like explain.
Yeah, it was totally like a lightning bolt. Like literally, I was reading, I don't know which chapter I was in, because when I read something, I read it basically cover to cover. And so this was my second go through and I was reading it cover to cover again. And when I was through, I basically, in looking back on the book, I said, this is how money energy works. And I started talking to Renee, my business strategist at the time, and she just threw questions and kind of Socratic questioning method. And she kind of pulled it out of me. And she said, just describe it to me. If this is what's occurring to you, describe it. And so we went down that exploration path and that's what came out of it. And she wrote the foreword to my book, Money Energy Mastery. So I encourage anybody who doesn't know about that book yet to read that because it's amazing.
Yeah. And to Chasen's point, he's saying, I love the switch and the fact that you use your coaches. I always get concerned about coaches that don't have their own coaches. I mean, this is a message to anyone that's listening. Nobody is too good for a coach. There is always something you can learn and you need those people to help you unlock. And just like Renee did for you, like that's such a power move. It's just so cool. So break it down for us. What is money energy for people that aren't understanding that concept?
Yeah. So if everything is energy, right? We've all heard that everything's energy. So if that's the case, then that means money is energy also. You can think of money as currency, as essence. And so in money terms, what this means is, there's also some universal laws applied here too, not only law of circulation, but the law of attraction, the law of resonance, and a couple other laws too that come along for the ride. And basically it means that, like attracts like. So whatever state of consciousness, i.e. frequency, you embody on the regular is going to attract a certain level of money, right? You can substitute anything else for money, right? But I stay in my lane of money and that's what I teach. So there are 7 specific levels. They are distinct. I thought there were more when I was first kind of thinking about this, but it turns out that actually in all levels reside all 7 levels, right? So there are like starter levels of a certain level and kind of more mature levels within a level, right? So the sense that sometimes people will tell me, well, I think I've got one foot in one and, another foot in another. No, they're just in a specific level within one main level, right? And it's not that they're bad. It's that the first two of the 7 are the land of what I call the unpreferred circumstances, meaning the universe, right, only knows abundance because lack is a human construct. So what are you experiencing? Are you experiencing what is the abundance of? Is it an abundance of time versus an abundance of client meetings, or an abundance of bills versus an abundance of money, right? And sometimes people have made really good income in corporate and they go into the entrepreneurship gig, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're on what we call the entrepreneur, cliff, right? The income cliff. And they're like, wait, I don't understand this and that was the case with me, which is why when I mentor people, I know exactly what to tell them, like how to avoid that. And it has to do with making sure you understand what your frequency is on the regular and set that as high as there's a specific range, right? You want to be in the, love or above. So there's like love, happiness, joy, gratitude. Those are the highest, most expansive frequencies. They're going to be the ones that are most generative to the levels of money that you truly desire.
Do you want to list out the 7?
Sure. So the first one is deficient absence. Mm-hmm. The second one is captive desire. Those are the first 2 that are, really indicative of the, of the unpreferred circumstances. Then you have courageous forgiveness. That's the pivotal point between where you're now turning into the abundance of preferred circumstances and what I call starter abundance. And then you have harmonious forgiveness. Harmonious acceptance. And harmonious acceptance is now that more expansion into actual consistent abundance. Like every stage gives you more and more of that preferred circumstances, abundance of preferred, more and more abundance of preferred circumstances. So then you move into loving money. Mm-hmm. And that's really a sweet place to be. And then, that's not the love of money, right? The level 5 loving money is the space of loving money for what it enables you to be, do, have, and give, because that's really what we want the money for. We don't want to, hoard money for the sake of hoarding money, especially women. Women don't want to do that. We actually want, the challenge I see with most women is, number 1 is worthiness of receiving ourselves before turning around and gifting it to others. We are powerful creators for other people, our children, our communities, even our husbands in certain circumstances, right? But you get to create it for you. You are worthy just by breathing. You're worthy of abundant and unapologetic prosperity, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then the second challenge that I see is that, for women particularly, is if we have a business, we're not paying ourselves an actual salary. Or if we are, it's not sufficient. You get to have a salary from your business, and then that business gets to make you the profit that enables you to have that salary, right? Mm. So, and that has to do with frequency. So then the last 2 levels in the 7, and this one is a really fun one. It's joyful completion is level 6. Even like all the words that I'm using, like there is specific resonance with all the words of the money levels, and they're designed to be in that frequency zone, right? And then you go to enlightened gratitude. Now, a word about enlightened gratitude, the final 7th level, is that's peak money consciousness. As such, because gratitude is our biggest frequency that we can embody, not many people, and then enlightenment is out of the body, not many people arrive or attain or expand into enlightened gratitude. And then those that do, not many, persist there or stay there.
Very cool. And I assume these are all in your book.
They're all in my book.
And what's the name of the book? So people can
I'm going to show the book. It's Money Energy Mastery, the 7 Money Realities.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so there's a concept that many people in your space talk about, and it's called inviting in. So, what does inviting in money actually look like in practice?
Yeah. Well, so I teach the 7 steps to creating the money that you desire or realizing the money that you desire. And the first one is always, what's your desired outcome? What do you want by when? Right. And so the third challenge I will see with people is that they are not clear because the universe rewards specificity, right? So before I talk about inviting in, I want to talk about setting up what you're inviting in, because you can invite in vague, but then you're going to receive vague. So you want to be sure that you're very specific. Well, I'll have whole conversations with people and they will avoid the topic of money, right? And at the end, I will say, I just need to clarify what money do you want, right? We're talking about money, but they're avoiding the topic, right? There's
Well,
a
and a
lot.
lot of people don't know. They don't know what that is, and it almost feels greedy for them to put a number on it. So
Right.
how do you get them out of that block?
Yeah.
Because I know people like, well, how much do you want?
I don't know, right? Because so there's like multiple layers here. However, a lot of what you're talking about is the prior programming that runs the show, most often on a subconscious level. So then I'll ask a question and they're like, oh, I don't know. And all I don't know means is that you've reached the limit of your brain, your big, beautiful brain, which I love. I attract big, beautiful brains of people all the time.
Yep.
But now we get to connect to the heart and drop that same question in. And now you can arrive at the answer. So what's my desired outcome for my bank account, for this month, for this quarter, for this year, whatever the thing is, for this conversation, right? My desired outcome here for our conversation was to clarify and make an impact, right? To give value to your audience, right? So then that's what I show up and do. And that gets fulfilled because that's what I'm inviting in and available for and claiming, so to speak. But you must have clarity, because there is nothing as generative as clarity, I like to say.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a really great story that I will tell another time because it's too long for this, about specificity. And if you're not specific, you'll get exactly what you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Just be real careful what you ask for. So I asked
Exactly.
for exactly what I asked for, and it wasn't what I wanted.
Because the truth is, we're all powerful manifestors. You are inviting in and experiencing the exact lifestyle that you have today. It's not that you're to blame for it. It's that you had a role, an active role in calling that in, right? So what are you available then? If you don't enjoy what you're experiencing, then guess what? All it means is you now have a choice to change, make a different decision, right? First, if you want fast results, give yourself permission to have a different experience and then make a different decision.
Yeah, I mean, I love what Lydia said here. Hi, Lydia. Lydia's dialing in from the UK. She said, I also feel guilty when I'm out there helping people with healing to put a cost on it. And I don't think that's a very uncommon sentiment that you must see from your clients. Like, but I just want to help people. How do I charge them for that?
Oh, I have a good story. Yeah. So one of my client success stories includes Delphine, who was in the financial industry in a career, and then she dropped that and created a spiritual practice. And when we got together, I actually hired her to do something in a retreat for me one year. And in subsequent conversations, when we were talking, I'm like, so you're making the money that you really want? And she's like, oh no, I'm not making anything in my spiritual practice. I'm like, you want to change that? And then we started working together, and she had been working also with another coach who helped her create a mastermind program. So she had these 10 beautiful seats available and ready for to sell, but she wasn't selling them. She wasn't getting anybody in them. And I said, okay, so let's do the energy work first. And in that inquiry, she discovered that she believed she could not make a dime from her spiritual practice, like that it was wrong or that she shouldn't, or right, fill in the blank. And so that is something we released. And as soon as we released it, she brought in 20K in 3 days and sold all her seats.
I love that story. That's so good. What does unapologetic prosperity mean to you?
It means you are not, you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to fear other people's judgment for it, right? It's yours for the taking, and you are worthy of it.
I love that. I love these comments that are coming in here. Let me just go back to Nick's. She said, this has been a great learning curve for me. I set my monthly goal and my strategy to get there. Big difference than coming from a poverty mindset or a lack mindset, scarcity mindset. And Jared said, unfortunately, most people manifest their life by default and aren't aware how powerful the law of attraction truly is. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of tune it out because they think it's woo, or they think it's difficult, or they don't know how. So what do you say to them?
For all the people who kind of question the woo, including my husband, I say, can we agree that we're all divine beings having a human experience? So we live in the duality of that. We have, but the middle class mindset, which is governed by the ego brain and the five senses, dictates, right, the survival mode, like just enough money, or like, and it gets you to where you are today, but it will never get you to where you truly want to go. And so I call that ego earning, right? So if you're stuck in ego earning, aka the middle class mindset, right, I have an invitation for you. Just know that it is totally possible to shift out of the working hard for your money. To have more money means working harder longer, or means exchanging your time. And you can pivot over into what I call exponential receiving. I'm a big fan of the exponential and also of receiving, right? Because we only receive to our capacity. And in that way of creating money, I invite you to look at it as you're exchanging value for money. It's not a time-based thing, it's a value-based thing. But then we talk about, well, what's the value? What value do you have that you can offer to betterment of humanity in exchange for equal money? All of that is one piece of the formula of how that works.
I love that. Okay, let's pause for just a second. And I just want to say, first of all, to anybody that has already voted, today is the last day I can ask you to vote. Here's the thing. Where is it? Hold on. Here it is. Okay. There's the QR code. If you have not yet voted, the Heartbeat for Hire podcast, which is my other show, is nominated again for Best Business Podcast in the Women Podcasting Network. Aren't you in it too, Susan? Yeah, Susan's in there. Vote. I don't think you can vote for both of us because we're both in the business podcast category. But if you've already voted for me, maybe you can use a different email and vote for Susan. Anyway, we're all here for the love. So thank you for supporting. Again, today is the last day. And then my listeners, you never leave empty-handed. You can go shopping on me. You use the code Lead with Heart. That QR code will bring you to a bunch of different sources of really great stuff, one of which is Cozy Earth. If you've never experienced amazing, amazing bedding, that's where you want to go to get it. It's 21% off. It's the deepest discount you can get anywhere. It's been on Oprah's favorite things 9 times. I have the sheets. They are, chef's kiss, extraordinary. You buy them for yourself, treat yourself. You'll love your sleep. And again, listen to the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. If you like this show, that's another version of this. We're booked out until October. The guests coming up are phenomenal. We just hit episode 200 yesterday. So enough about all of that. Let's get back to the show. And now it is time for the not so speedy speed round, the lead it or leave it speed round. And I say it's not so speedy because I want you to elaborate on all these topics. And then I have plenty more questions to ask. Cool. So if you love it, you're going to say lead it. If you don't, you're going to say leave it. And I'm probably going to ask you why. Okay. You've already kind of talked about this one. Oh, wait, I forgot. One more thing. Let me just say this. Next week on the show, Stan Gibson is entering the Leadership Lounge. He is a speaker. He does masterminds. Super cool dude. You definitely don't want to miss that one. Now we'll go back to the show. Okay. Ready? First topic. Working for free to build credibility.
Leave it.
Why?
Well, first of all, I'm a money person, but also if you keep doing speaking for free, I'm actually working with a private client on this, right? It's like, oh, but they're my ideal audience. Yes, but you need to get paid. Now, I will clarify, either you're getting a speaking fee or you're negotiating to sell from the stage. We did versus like a 15K speaking fee. I said, what would it take for you to pay yourself at least 15K? And we said in an audience of 100, say 20% convert to whatever she was going to invite them to consider, then she was making 150K. Guess what? I don't care what money you make, but you're not speaking for free, even on quote unquote free stages.
You know, it's such a good, so I have two thoughts on the speaking thing, and I'm going to challenge it just a smidge, because
Sure.
when you're first starting out as a speaker, you have to put in the reps. And if you've never been paid to speak before, it's going to be interesting to have somebody pay you for the first time handsomely.
Yeah, this person's been doing it for 15 years. So to put it into context, yeah.
Oh, no. We can't have that. Right. No, we can't have that. No, but I always coach like first time speakers, like go to your local Rotary, go put in some reps and work on your craft. Comedians work on their set. You have to work on your speech. You have to get comfortable telling your stories, learning your pacing, engaging with the audience, all that stuff. You're not going to get paid maybe the first couple of times, but you can get filmed while you're doing it. You can take pictures while you're doing it, all good stuff.
So say up to like the first 6 times that you speak, fine, do free to get it under your belt. But once that you pass that milestone, no more free.
I love this. Know your worth and add tax. Thank you, Jared. Agreed. Okay, next one. Corporate careers as a wealth builder.
That's an interesting one. I could actually answer either way on that, and I'll clarify or qualify that. Depends who you work with on your financial plan.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It depends how much you're able to save first. That's the first piece, right? And you need to have some kind of an exponential wealth building plan, and then that would work. So that's what I teach my corporate clients in the financial practice to do. So you can lead that one, I'll say.
I like that one. I mean, I think, first of all, I think corporate jobs, especially when you're starting out young, it's really good. You understand business. You're putting money away without even thinking about it. You know, a piece of every paycheck is going away, and if it's
you learn a ton,
and they match your whatever you're putting away like that. That's how I grew a lot of my wealth, and my husband too. And so when it came time, we're both entrepreneurs, but when it came time for us to do that, we have that pile of money that's still earning, that's still producing, but we're able to pursue this life that we want. And there's a point to all that. So,
and I will clarify, not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur. So
no.
Right. So you got to make sure that what you're pursuing, whichever it is in alignment with you for the person you are at the time. Because believe me, I'm a different person now than I was when I started it, you know.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn so many things along the way. And I 100% agree with you. Not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. And we are not describing this as the destination post-corporate. Right. You could have a beautiful corporate career and continue your entire life and bounce from company to company. You could stay in one place, although people don't do that anymore, but you could. So that is not what we're suggesting. Okay. I think I know how you're going to say this one. Money as a spiritual topic.
Lead it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all you talk about, so that's easy. Okay. Here's one. Passive income.
Well, can I, before you ask me the next one,
of course,
can I just clarify that why it's a lead it, right? So if you think about it, if the biggest level of money is awaiting you on the other side of your fulfilling and self-expressing to your highest level, your innate God-given talents, again, to betterment of humanity, that's a very spiritual endeavor in and of itself.
Yeah. Oh, I have goosebumps. I felt it. Okay. Passive income.
Oh, lead it.
And
I don't call it passive income though. So even if your money's making you money, it's active, right? It's passive to you, as in you didn't have to earn it, but it is active. It's still active, right? So I just want to encourage, because word choice is very important. So call it residual income, right? Yeah. If you need to put a label on it, but ditch the passive label.
And what's your favorite kind?
I don't have a favorite. I like them all.
I'm trying to give tips to our listeners. So, some people like look at real estate
Well,
and
so yeah,
or
one of my clients is that's part of the strategy. Another client wants to do that, is setting herself up to do that, right? And then within that, there are all these different ideas. Depends where you live too. If you're in Philly or you're in New York City or LA, you have different options for purchasing things and then offering them for business rentals, right? To make a little bit more money than you would on the Airbnb side. Somebody that I'm associated with in the UK just got her first rental up, right? So that's a great source. We have family in Croatia. They all do it. They all live in one section of their house. And then because it's a tourist economy, during the high season, they are renting out their other living spaces and making the money during like a shortened period of the year for their whole year. So it's a great money maker, right? There's also, having your money make you money in the market or in other vehicles that certain of us know about, where you can actually attain multiple rates of return. People love real estate because you get multiple spins on your money. What if you could do that more so, right? So it depends who you have leading your plan for the money and what they know how to, like all the pieces of leverage that they know how to engage.
Okay. I love that. All right. This one's an interesting one. Investing before you're ready.
Ooh, yeah. So I actually don't care where people are putting their money at the beginning. It's more important to chase rates of savings than rates of return. This is just something that I talk about in my financial practice. So I'll just leave it there because I'm not giving specific advice here to anybody. But just know that, you could be investing in yourself. You could be you could be investing in somebody else's business or their future. You could be helping, one of your children start a business. I've seen that. It depends what, investing is so broad, and usually people think of market, but that has so much more application than simply the stock market.
Yeah, I agree. It's more than that. Okay. This one's interesting. I don't know how you're going to take this one. So debt as a tool.
Lead it. Because there are three types of leverage. One of them is leveraging other people's money. And if you use it strategically, it's a good thing. But never use credit for, consumables, right? Like don't buy your groceries on it. You want to live on cash and then leverage the other people's money strategically, like to acquire things is a good piece of it. Or in business application, right? Say you have a down month and the money's coming, but it's not here yet. Like that would be a strategic use of other people's money to close the gap for you so you can sustainably stay in business, right? Things like that.
Yeah, I think people hear the word debt and they immediately think bad. And I had Hannah Hammond on my podcast, and she talks so much. She's big into commercial real estate, talks so much about how leveraging debt, she doesn't use her own money. She uses other people's money, and it just compounds, and it's fascinating to listen to. But I think so many people get intimidated and they feel lack when they see or think about debt. And that's why I wanted you to.
It's programming, because remember, we're programmed for survival, not thriving. And what we're talking about here are strategies to break out of the survival mode and into thriving to your next level.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, look, Jason, yes, live in cash, use it strategically. Love that, Susan. I do too. Okay, so what does 2 or 3xing? I'm sorry, you finished the lead it or leave it speed round.
Okay.
Well done. Okay, back to the questions. What does 2xing or 3xing wealth actually look like for your clients?
I'll just share a really recent client experience. So what I usually invite people in is some form of a wealth track VIP. They're full or half, depending on how much money they want. And this particular individual said, and she has a fledgling business that literally just launched. And she's like, so I want an additional $12,500 for, in my bank account. Okay. what happened in 30 days, she over 50,000 in new income flowed in. And I told her, we calculated, and I said, that was like 8.5 times your ROI, right? Like, and she's like, yeah. And so she's in this exponential field right now, but normally it's a 2 to 3x. But, and I told her, I explained it like this. She was actually already in 2 to 3x, but she had a 1/4 delay. So 3 months delay in that. And so this 8.5 times experience in 30 days was kind of like the energetic release of all of that had been already in her field because of desire. But now we just made it possible for her to expand her capacity to receive, and also her clarity around how she was actually going to translate the value that she knew internally into fullest self-expression. And she also, like me, she implements very quickly. So that gave her the ability to have those kinds of results. I'm so thrilled for her.
I love that. That's so great. So how is this like normal 30 days for your clients, or is it longer, or what?
Yeah. So the initial 30 days is really to give them a taste of, so that they get the methodology that works when you work it, and they get the release work, and we rewrite their money story and so forth, and other coaching things. And they learn the 7 steps to realizing the money that you want, and understand and then own how this works so they can then embody it. Right. And that's what she truly did. She really embodied it. Took her about 2 weeks. And after that, she was like unstoppable. And so, but some people, right, actually, I'll say most people need a little bit longer because they need to intellectually understand what that is all about and how it works before they can actually implement it in the full. And so sometimes it takes 60 days.
Love. Okay, that's great. So on this show, we're really big into giving people their flowers. So who believed in you before you believed in you?
Oh, well, first, Joe Shabika was my financial advisor who saw all kinds of possibilities in me that I didn't even know. He's the one that helped me scratch the surface on that. And then Renee Gambino, who I mentioned, my business strategist, I worked with her for 7 years because I just couldn't get enough. And she was my next level coach for those 7 years. And very recently in the last year, I've been working with my mentor, Megan Huber, who's an amazing, not only human, but also on the operations side. So now that I can set up the scaling up to the next level for my 2 businesses. So,
well, let's be sure to tag them.
Let me not forget my husband, my husband too, who is, has always been a little bit of a skeptical supporter, but a supporter nonetheless. And I would not be here without him for sure, because he literally saved my life in the end of 2024. So I get to continue to do this because of him.
So great. So great. So let's be sure to tag them in the comments after the show so they can hear that you were giving them their flowers. It's really important that whenever someone believes in you, you tell them. That's to everybody in the audience. Don't forget. I will. So who are your ideal clients?
So my ideal clients are the, they're pulling in revenue of about 350,000 to about 700, maybe a little bit more, thousand a year. That's gross revenue. They're usually coaches, consultants, founders, right? And they've done very well, but there are still things like, there is still this either unknown or they're aware of it, programming that's still at work. There's something that is holding them back and they can't bust through it themselves. And like I mentioned, or like you mentioned, right, they try to outthink the problem. They tell me they feel like a thoroughbred stuck at the gate. And I literally described this person to somebody who is a daughter of a friend. And she goes, as soon as you said that, I knew exactly, like several people came to mind. So it's a very interesting thing. An ideal client actually said those words to me, and I wrote them down verbatim because they are gold. By the way, everybody, if your clients are telling you things, write them down in their words and use them, because other people like them are going to be attracted to you through the
Yeah,
word.
you're doing one of my favorite things right now, which is telling stories about your work, which helps people understand and connect the dots. So thank
Yep.
you for telling the stories. I think when people are very vague and conceptual about what they do, it's harder for people to get it. And when you can just describe specifics, people are like, "Oh, I see myself in that." And that's really important. So you have a podcast. What's the podcast called?
So, well, I kind of don't have an official podcast. I do LinkedIn business interviews. And
Yeah,
so I just had Melissa Cohen on this week. I have Melissa
Melissa.
Richardson next week. And I have Alyssa Randall the following, it's like at the end of May. Yep. Taking a little bit of a 2-week break there in between. But, and then, anybody in the Outlier Project who wants to be featured, that's where I'm focusing right now. So in that community, I'm just hoping to raise the awareness around all of these awesome people's work.
Well, shout out Outliers. I know we have a lot in the audience.
Yeah.
And put up Susan's LinkedIn. So be sure and connect with her. Tell her you heard her here. And Susan, what's next for you?
Well, I am growing my private LinkedIn group. So anybody who's interested, I go live weekly on the topics for FEMpreneurs and entrepreneurs who are basically plateaued and challenged to getting to your next level wealth. And when I say wealth, it's money, meaning, and joy, right? All of that is wealth. So it goes beyond the traditional understanding of just purely money. But it's all tied together, right? So the more money you make, the more joy and the more meaning you get to have.
And can people find that group from your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, they can search, or they can drop me a DM and I'll invite them in.
Okay. Drop a DM. That's easy. She'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
So my friend, I always like to give my guests the floor at the end with some parting words or the things that you want people to take away from this time together. So the floor is yours. Please tell them what you want.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't share today was when I was going through the early stages of entrepreneurship, when I say I fell off the entrepreneur cliff, I wasn't joking. We actually had a bankruptcy as a result because I consumed the assets that we had set aside for that really quickly. And I had some prior debt from earlier marriage. So it was my perfect financial storm. And I wrote about that in when did I write it? 2017 in an anthology called Courage Under Siege. And once I wrote that, then I was unstoppable. So if you're sitting on a story, I encourage you to get it out there and do it anyway, even if it scares the heck out of you, like mine did me. But then once you do that, you realize it's worth it if it helps just one person.
Yeah.
Right. And we these days understand, and I've actually acquired a new client because of that story. So you never know who it's going to resonate with, right? It makes you more human. I'm not perfect. I'm human just like everybody else, right? And so you like to be transparent and human, and and explain your learnings and your transformations yourself, because the best person to teach you about that is someone who now knows what not to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your stories, your wisdom. I've enjoyed this so much, and I hope everyone in the audience has enjoyed it too. You guys, this show is every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope you come back for next week and the weeks. I think right now we're booked into late August. Super excited for the whole lineup of guests we have. And if you yourself want to be a guest in the Leadership Lounge, shoot me a DM. Let's talk about it. But Susan, thank you. This was such a pleasure. And everybody who came today, thanks for listening. Thank you for your comments. And I hope you come back next week. So everyone, get out there, lead with heart, and have a great day. Susan, you stay put. Okay.
Mm-hmm.